But the thing that's interesting, I don't know, to me, is you watch this weekend, obviously, and it preps you, and you get into football season, you get into football watching mode. But I don't know, to me, like I get super excited. I do think that you forget how the difference in the college and the pro until you see next week, right? Like I watched that Florida State LSU game last night, right? Where, LSU loses the game on a muff punt, but then Florida State fumbles on the 1 yard line, and then Florida State LSU comes down and scores, and then misses an extra point. Not that errors don't happen in the NFL games, not that there's not a miscue or a missed extra point or whatever, but the level of play. It's interesting. Like I do feel like because we're so happy football's back, the level of play this weekend wasn't very good, but we give it a pass because we're happy football's back. You know what I mean?
You know what? That game last night between LSU, I watched pretty much every snap of that game. I've trained quite a few guys that play for Florida State. I know some guys that play for LSU. Obviously, my daughters attend LSU. That game was defensively, LSU couldn't get off the field on third downs. I believe Florida State went 11-17. Man, quarterback for Florida State, dude looked he was impressive. But the thing is, I was a punt returner, and I've dropped punts. And I said this to a buddy of mine I've dropped punts. So Malik Neighbors, like I've been in those situations in the National Football League. When you drop a punt, that next punt, every punt returner can attest to this. That next punt that's in the air, you're like, don't drop it, don't drop it. That's what you're thinking as the punt's in the air. And he's playing in a dome. It's no wind. Don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it. When you're a young kid like that, as a coach, you have to know your player. Just replace him. Just replace him. As that punt was going in there, I was saying to the people that were at my house, he should just let it drop. Don't catch this ball. Just let it drop. And then he drops it. And then on the PAT, you're always taught, protect the inside. You know how many times I heard that in special teams meeting from Darren, special teams coach Cincinnati? Protect the inside. Protect the inside. Protect the inside. They get beat on the inside, and I'm not going to call him out who it was because he's a kid. But you got to reinforce that in that situation. Make sure you protect the inside. These kids, they'll learn from it. They gave us a hell of a football game, but LSU has to get better. Great job, Florida State. They did a hell of a job in that game, offensively and defensively.
All right, there's a couple things I'll take away from that, but here's one that I think is going to be an interesting watch. And it happened last year with Oklahoma and Spencer Rattler. Now, look, Oklahoma's a big-time college football state, and the University of Oklahoma is obviously a gigantic college football program. So there's always been a lot of, discussion, about quarterback and who should play. And, there's grumblings when they do have occasionally a quarterback who doesn't play well. But the way that Spencer Rattler, I felt like, was handled last year, a good portion of it is because he was making money. Because I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, TJ, but people view, it's like you said, hey, I don't want to call the kid out. I do think the way in which we view college football, maybe not me and you as much, but I do think kind of the common average fan looks at it differently now that they look at them as professionals. It's different. Like, hey, man, you get paid to make that catch. Like, no, I don't. I'm a college kid. Like, no. You get paid to make that catch. But look, amazing insight to think of what it's like to be a punt return. I mean, we've all thought of what that's like to see the ball coming our way. But I'm just telling you, I feel like there will always now be people who watch college football differently. Their expectations, their reactions, there'll be a lot more negativity towards some of the players because, hey man, you're getting paid to make that play now. This is not just a freebie system.
And that's okay. Even if you weren't getting paid, you should make that play when you're playing at the highest level of college football. Number one, the player expects to make that play. As fans, I mean, I'll watch a game now, and I drop plenty of balls. And I'll watch a game now when somebody drops a ball. I'm like, damn it, catch the ball. We're not trying to drop it. It happens. And so, for me, I say this. Spencer Rattler's getting paid. So what? He's one of the chosen few that can. So what? If you're mad at it, you should have tried to ban Spencer Rattler.
No. I don't think anybody's mad at it. I think, and you're taking this. I'm saying that people, that fans, again.
That's always going to, even if they're not getting paid, they're going to find an excuse to berate you or talk about you if you're not playing well, right?
There's a different energy towards it, though. There's the percentage of people that go, man, he's just a kid. It just happens, right? Happens. And I've been 20 years old. Last thing you're thinking of is what you're supposed to do, and you screw it up, right? It's just the change in college football, which has not yet really hit, right? Because we don't have the super conferences yet. But we have seen the change in the NIL, but the change in college football, which is kind of coming. I would say that some of the energy towards players when they don't play well, or when they transfer out, or when they're benched, or when they make a mistake, is different. Now, it's not different for everybody, and I also think that the percentage of it that's different now that sports betting is more and more legal, right? Because look, dude, when there's money on the line, and again, all of these things have always occurred, TG. I'm not saying guys haven't always gotten paid. They have. I'm not saying people haven't always bet on college football. They have, of course. But when it's above board and when everybody knows what's going on and people are talking about the lines, it's just different. And I do think at times the energy towards watching a college sporting event is different. By the way, let me for people who missed the game, here's the final call. So, again, basically, succession of events is LSU finally gets a stop. They had no offense until late in the game, finally gets a stop. Then they muff a punt at their own, 5-yard line. And then Florida State's going in to score, fumbles at the 1-yard line. LSU goes all the way down the field. And then they scored. There's on the last play, right? They ran out of bounds 1 second to go. Literally, it's a very average game. A very poorly played, defensive-minded game, right, where it looked clunky. All of a sudden, this crazy succession of events. So LSU scores. All they got to do is kick the extra point, go to overtime, and here's the call from the Florida State Radio Network. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had that cut. All right. Anyway, it was that's one of those. If you're watching, you're like, this is the craziest thing ever.
That game was. It was a really good game. A lot of things need to be cleaned up. Florida State, like I said, quarterback played well. But in that situation, that third down, please explain to me why they're doing a toss sweep. Why are you doing a toss sweep? Hand the ball off. Why are you doing a toss sweep? LSU scores with no time left on the clock. You had already had a punt blocked earlier. A field goal blocked earlier. Understand that as a coach and say, okay, let me remind my players, protect the inside. Do not give up the inside. We're always taught that if they block the punt or a field goal, they're going to come inside. Protect the inside. They didn't protect the inside, and the field goal was blocked. Florida State made the play when they needed to make it. LSU, new head coach, new coaching staff, new quarterback transfers in from Arizona State, and it was tough. Kayshon Boutte, preseason All-American, one of the best receivers in the country. You get frustrated when you get as many targets as you get last year, and then you come into this season, you don't get your first catch until the fourth quarter. I'm telling these coaches, when you're a receiver, you feel like you're not part of the game if you're not giving me the ball.
You touch the ball.
Just let me touch the ball in the first quarter on a bubble screen, a hitch, something. The fourth quarter, I'm supposed to be the best offensive weapon we have, and I don't get a catch till the fourth quarter. Just little things like that, and the coach has to know. If you want the players involved in the game, get them going early. When you do that, they're going to play hard, and you should play hard anyway. That's just not how it works, man. That's not how it works.
You got to get dudes to look early in the game, get them going. It's just like quarterbacks, right? You got to get them a rhythm throw to get them going.
Get them a rhythm.
Same thing. Same thing with
dude. The LSU quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, had 37 yards passing in the first half. Like, what are they doing? This is high level college football. I know it's the first game. I know it's a new team, but when you're playing at that level, you must be better. But football every weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I love it. I love this time of the year.